Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock, let's go over the market, let's go over what is happening on this day, what we can expect moving forward, as I am over here very upset that Netflix is up 4% because I'm just always looking for an opportunity to get in. Today, I wanted to buy so bad, but obviously with earnings literally that just happened, hence it's up 4 or 5%. You know, you can't take that gamble on earnings, but of course it's up. I'm just very sad about that, I'll be honest, but it is what it is. Now, moving over to Tesla. Let's just discuss it. I'll give you my thoughts moving forward. So if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. That link is down below. For just $2.99 a month, you get access to all my intraday thoughts, posts, updates on Tesla, and sometimes other stocks as well. Every single day, the market is open. So hopefully you guys can hear that siren outside. So if you're interested, the link is down below for the YouTube membership, or for $5 a month, you get access to all of that. Plus, you get access to my Nvidia daily updates as well. But jumping into it, Tesla closing the day down ever so slightly, 0.2%, which compared to the market, ever so slight underperformance, I guess, but nothing really to write home about, honestly. For the most part, not doing a whole lot. Get some, a little bit of volatility today, but the most important thing that I'm looking at right now is the fact that we are still actually closing, despite the volatility today, despite us actually going below the range of yesterday, which was, a little bit concerning. I'm not gonna lie, and the reason that was a little bit concerning is because so on the 1 hour, you can see, if I take away all time after hours, we constantly, every time on the 1 hour, every time we rally, we always made higher lows, right? Every single time we came back down, we constantly made higher lows until today. We actually made a fresh lower high. Oh, sorry, lower low, which is actually a little concerning, right? That definitely shows a little bit of weakness, but we actually rallied back up decently well and actually still managed to close back above that 100 EMA, which is that yellow line, which is not too bad. Honestly, that's not too bad at all. So there is still some, potential here to move back up again. Honestly, it could be even as early as tomorrow, up about $5 or so. Again, up to about that 225-ish range, because we closed back above and continue to close back above this 100 EMA. I do believe that's a possibility. Now, that's a short-term possibility, which could be as early as tomorrow, honestly. I think the main question here is going to be, well, okay, let's say we do move up to 225. Well, what's after that, right? Again, the overall picture, again, the 225 thing is just literally short-term, like a day or two, maybe even tomorrow. But the thing you want to watch out for Tesla moving forward is going to be pretty simply the overall structure on the daily. So let's go over to actually TrendSpider really quickly, because again, TrendSpider is where I have it on the logarithmic chart. We actually closed barely right above the line. So pretty much most of the day, we actually were arguably below. Again, my line's not drawn to perfection, of course. Don't take these like tiny little, it's pretty much right at the line, right? So the reason I bring this up is because the logarithmic chart was showing a little bit of bearishness, because we were actually seemingly closing below, because we were at about like $220, if not even $219, for, like about half an hour before market close. And then we had a nice little rally, right? So the fact that we're closing pretty much right on the line still gives some hope, which is good. Above the 100 EMA, good. So there are some decent signs here, right? RSI is still very oversold on the daily. The BX trend for once is now finally showing a very slight higher low. The MACD is slightly showing some higher lows. Now, again, none of these, in my opinion, are really like actual bottom confirmations. But what it tells me, especially if we go to the 4 hour, is the fact that we're probably closer to at least some bottom than not. Now, the main question to me is, the only lower, okay, if we were to go lower, the only way I can see us going much lower is, or the levels rather, will be pretty much back down for a quick retest to about 215, or the worst case realistic scenario before I see some potential sizable bounce, I would say, is back down to about that 207, 203 range, right? So let's say, go back to the daily, right? Now, there's two scenarios that play out here, right? The first scenario is going to be if we do hold around this area, because, we are oversold and the stochastic is getting into oversold territory. I actually did change my stochastic settings a little bit to make it a little more streamlined and less false signals. So it's actually not quite oversold just yet, but it's pretty close to it, right? It's pretty close to it. So in other words, if Tesla pretty much holds this general area, you absolutely want to see it break out of this downward descending channel, which is essentially going to be a break of about 225-ish, right? That's probably the most important level moving forward. Could be even as early as tomorrow. If we break above that, though, I think we'll probably move up something like this. And I honestly can see Tesla actually making its way back up to the 240s or even 250s. If assuming we continue holding this general range, which will be something that looks like this, and we'll continue more or less, potentially zigzagging in between this kind of general range until we finally pick a direction, of course, right? Because at some point we will break out from one of these situations, if you will. That's option one, which is the bullish side, right? The bearish, but not truly. Well, actually, no. I guess that is just the bullish side. The bearish side, I would say, is going to be we actually do fall ultimately lower, right? We do break below 215, 213, and we actually come back down all the way here to about 207, 203. What is that going to do? Well, that's going to start most likely creating a bullish divergence on the RSI, which will be good. So another option, again, we can go up to 225 tomorrow and then still make our way down. Very important to understand that. That 225 range is kind of irrelevant. In terms of, if we just go to it. It's more important if we break above it and hold above it. That's what's really important. So regardless of what happens with this 225 region, assuming we, of course, don't get past it, the other option, again, like I said, is we actually do break below. But the issue is we break below this trend line, which would be pretty damn bearish. However, at that point, I would foresee Tesla being very, very, very oversold. If I bring out my bands, we would be not only at the very extreme oversold for the bands, most likely create either just a lower low on the RSI or a bullish divergence. Either way, it would get still extremely oversold. And on top of that, my stochastic will officially enter oversold territories, which again, if you zoom out, every time it's entered oversold territories, except for back here, which was, I think, when Elon was selling, it's not stayed there for like too long before finding at least some bounce, right? So keep that in mind. So the way I look at it is, again, if we do come down to that range, I would expect us to come down, and I would expect us to get a decent bounce from this general vicinity, make our way back up to retest this trend line, which will be pretty much, depending on when it happens, back into the 220s, and then ultimately make our way most likely back down for this massive volume profile that's sitting at around the 170s. And I think that 170s-ish region will be where most likely there's a damn good chance that would be roughly where the bottom is, like the ultimate bottom for Tesla. That's kind of the bearish scenario. So those are the two scenarios I see playing out right now, which honestly all it really hinges on, and probably if there's anything to take away from this, the most important levels to watch out for in the near-ish term, which honestly might have to wait until earnings, is going to be, can we break above 225 and can we hold above it? Ideally 230s, low 230s is even better, but honestly even 225 in my opinion is pretty damn convincing already, because again, that most likely means we get the hell out of this channel, right? This descending channel. That's very, very good if that happens. Now, if it doesn't happen and we lose pretty much 215 and we start closing a daily candle below 215, honestly, forget the 213. 215 is honestly might be even good enough. Why? Because we never close a daily candle below 215, and the ascending line on this ascending trend line, this red line here, well, it's ascending. The longer it takes, the higher the threshold will be, right? So in other words, 215 is probably the level roughly you'd want to be looking for. With a daily closure below that would signal some serious bearishness, probably a very quick flush back down to, again, 207, 203, somewhere in that region. I do expect that to be an area to hold personally. Obviously, the extreme bear case is if we just flush straight down, which honestly would be kind of nice because then we just kind of get it over with. But the way I probably foresee it happening is, again, we would just get too oversold down here. Like it's just too much pain too quickly. Get a quick little bounce that could be pretty quick actually too, and then I think we'll go lower. Again, those are pretty much my two kind of general situations that I see Tesla going through, if that makes sense, for the next few weeks potentially. So that's kind of how I'm eyeballing things right now. That's kind of what I'm seeing now. The one thing that's also interesting to note is the fact that, which I'll talk about in the Nvidia video, but Nvidia is looking, obviously a little concerning. It had a massive gap up. It pretty much went to all-time highs roughly, but it's obviously getting a massive rejection. And now one thing I'm very curious about is Tesla and Nvidia inversely correlated? And what I mean by that is whenever Nvidia is going up, it feels like Tesla's going down. And whenever Tesla's going up, Nvidia is going down. So take a look at this. For instance, what date was the Tesla top? What date did it top at right before it started the reversal back down, right? That was pretty much October 1st or the final day of September, 30th of September. That's roughly where we topped at, those 2 days, and then we've been pretty much crashing ever since, pretty aggressively too. If you bought up here, you are currently down 15-16%, which is a decent amount in a pretty short time frame, right? Cool. Let's take a look at Nvidia. Where did Nvidia finally bottom out before this massive rally finally began? And we pretty much went back to all-time highs. What date was that? Well, you can see here, the 1st of October / the 2nd of October. One date or one day ahead of Tesla essentially from where it topped out at, but pretty much the same day. You can argue October 1st was that day essentially. Nvidia bottomed out on October 1st, rallied ever since. Tesla topped out October 1st, crashed ever since. Right, so that's just kind of the interesting thing that I find sometimes between these two stocks, right? And that kind of potential correlation. Now, I don't know how direct that correlation is. If it's just like obviously it's not like a straight up, like Nvidia's down, Tesla's up, and vice versa. But there is that kind of rough correlation between the two. It feels like. So if Nvidia finally does top out here and begins to maybe make its way back down, lower, for instance, could that mean that Tesla maybe finally gets a bit of breathing room and actually finally gets at least some life into it, right? Just food for thought, just food for thought. Thought I'd mention that. I think it's a pretty interesting correlation personally, but we'll see. Either way, the levels you want to look out for moving forward for Tesla really for the next several days, 225, 215, $5 range, pretty much from where we are right now. One of those levels will eventually give. Again, technically speaking, I am leaning bearish. Why am I leaning bearish? Despite Tesla's already fallen a decent amount, because we're still in a descending channel, right? My bias will be based on the channel we're in. We're in a bearish descending channel. So until we can break out of it, I am going to assume that there's a more likelihood of us ultimately making our way even lower until proven otherwise. And that, of course, being proven otherwise would be pretty much breaking about that 225 range, closing above it and holding above it, which would tell me that we're breaking out of this downward channel, at which point, even if Tesla comes back down to, 217, 218 again to retest this trend line, that should be in theory a bullish situation because, we're no longer in a descending channel, and it could just be a retest of the channel as well. So anyway, those are the main things I'm looking at and kind of eyeballing on Tesla moving forward. So let me know what you think down below. In terms of options flow, Tesla's nowhere to be found. $300 million, dude, this thing, every time I look, this thing is either insanely bullish or insanely bearish. I don't know what's going on with that stock. Tesla nowhere really to be found actually in terms of options flow. Let's take a quick look over here. Let's see what Tesla's doing. Yeah, the options flow on Tesla has been abysmal. I mean, that probably explains why that stock has been doing nothing. Abysmal call flow and put flow really on Tesla. Very little activity, as if people are waiting for what's going to happen next, right? But again, don't forget this, this consolidation, it's hard to say if it's bullish or bearish. You can argue the fact that it's bearish in a sense, mainly because this could be just essentially a bear flag on declining volume, which again usually happens, right? For instance, it's very common when you get a massive push up and then you essentially start forming a bull flag on declining volume, and that essentially implies that there's most likely a continuation about to occur. Unfortunately, a bear flag could mean literally the same thing, right? Massive fall. We could be setting up a bear flag on declining volume just for a continuation back down. So again, it's all guesswork at the end of the day, but the structure to me at the moment does feel more bearish than bullish until we can break above and start holding above 225. Otherwise, I am bearish. It is what it is. I think I said bull earlier. I meant to say bearish, but yeah, that's just kind of how I see it. I mean, it is what it is, right? So we'll see how it plays out. I mean, again, 225, 215, probably the most important levels. Watch out for those, and let's see how it performs over the next few days. Hopefully, they don't make us wait until earnings to really see the direction. They might. You never know, but let's see. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Peace.